Although I know it seems like I'm always lecturing about squats, I still think there's more to think about here. Today, I want to talk to you about the feeling of hinging at the hips as part of your squat. What I'm referring to is the action of the pelvis tipping forward and bringing the neutral spine with it so that when you've dropped into a squat, you're on an angle instead of, say, staying vertical as you bend your knees, okay? It's the loading a vertical spine and bending the knees that's often the cause of complaints at the knees. So when we can do the hinge forward at the hips, you can see my legs, well, my whole body looks a little bit more like a lightning bolt. I've got zigzags at every joint. But when I come down like that zigzag shape centers the weight of my body over my heels, and muscularly that it lands here in my thighs instead of forward more through the knee joint. What I'm seeing sometimes in class, the first error I showed you, not hinging forward, where people are coming down a little too upright. But the second thing that I've noticed a lot is people are responding to the cue a little bit incorrectly in how the pelvis responds. So I'm also seeing people come down into the squat and sending the hips backwards in space, but in a way that makes the spine flex on the way down. And it's much more subtle. I know I look like I'm going into a cat stretch, but the low back is rounding slightly, which could create a little strain in the low back over time, but it also diminishes the effect of the glutes when you rise back up. And that's what I want to make better. I want every squat you do to give you more when you stand back up. So we're going to play with a couple different things. You could try along with me. And these are, legit exercises, but also more thought experiments, just so you can get a sense of the feelings you're looking for in the squat. So the first thing to identify is the feeling of moving from your sit bones. The sit bones are our bony landmark that represent the base of your pelvis. And if you think of your pelvis like a bowl, we are tipping the bowl over. So when you do a hinge at your hips, I'm going to say my sit bones are like right where the crease is, where my bum ends and my leg starts. That's the spot that I want to initiate moving from, tipping this end of me up so that my upper body can fall forward in relationship to that. So I'm going to get that arm out of the way, but still move from the same place. So the sit bones are lifting up towards the ceiling. I stay in a neutral spine, and I'm hinging forward in relationship to that. So if you isolate that, and if you have in weightlifting, this is a deadlift basically, but if you play around with that a little bit, we have to get a sensory experience of both the pelvis tipping, but also being in a neutral spine. So when you're standing up, you're going to push down into your heels and get that relationship there of the ground underneath you, the crown of your head reaching away from you, and then that sense of the crown reaching away, it stays. And that's how the relationship just turns into feet to head, into sit bones to head when you tip forward. So there's going to be a little work in your upper back. You're still going to feel the support of your core underneath you like a sling, and we're going to carry that through the motion. Okay, so I want you to try that a few times. If you can't sense it, sorry, I'm going off script. Just kidding, I didn't have a script. If you can't sense it, maybe you alone, or you could grab a family member. This would be a broomstick. I didn't have one of those in this room, just wooden dowels. But if you hold a broomstick against your back, I've got the bottom of it like right, excuse me, right at my sacrum. And so when I tip forward, I can use this stick as a reference point. Okay, that's really a pre-exercise. Now here's what I want you to really do. This is the challenging one. You're going to grab a chair. If you've ever seen me teach bar, it's a pretty flimsy chair. I'm not, the flimsier the better, kind of, to challenge you. So it's the flimsiest chair I own. Have I made that clear? I'm going to stand with the back of my legs against the chair, and I'm going to change the squat, taking out my ankles. So the ankle joint I'm going to try to keep as close to a 90 degree as possible, and I'm going to go through the rest of the mechanics of the squat. Now I'm just going to take my arms here for a second as if I don't have arms. So I'm going to flex my knees and my hips, doing that same, hinging forward with the upper body as my hips travel back in space. And my goal on this movement is to keep the back of my lower leg against the chair and exaggerate the hip hinge. This is probably lower than when I showed you the normal squat. To practice the sensation of the sit bones pushing wide down and back as you come down, and then getting those sit bones pointing towards the floor when you rise. So this is a motion you want to do slow. I didn't do it slow just because I had so much to talk about. You want to really, really sense your way through it because you're going to have to be very conscious of that lower leg. I'm going to do this wrong now. See, right away, it's very easy to push that away from you. Or just come into the squat where I'm not even touching it anymore. Okay, so you might want to do, I'm going to say just like 5 to 10 of these. It shouldn't be too many. But spend the time challenging yourself at the speed, going slow, but also challenging yourself to be aware. This is a good time to be in the present moment, just so you can gather up information you can apply to your regular squat. When I go into that slow hinge, I want to sense the sit bones connecting, like literally just pushing through the skin as I go back, because that's what I want to feel at the base of the squat. And when I rise back up, trying to land with everything organized right over my heels so that I'll get a contraction for my glutes to press me up, but also really important, my abs. The abs stop the glutes from pushing too far. Okay, so too far is a pelvic thrust. I want the abs to catch you right here so my pelvis can't go too far forward. Okay, if you're having trouble nailing this, the connection with the lower leg, try doing the move I just described while also swinging your arms forward. That changes your center of gravity, how you feel balanced, and you'll definitely feel braver to explore different angles. All right, have fun with that. I hope it helps.